between the two.
This is David Long's 11th Open top 8, if
I
memory
believe
serves.
so. I believe
so. It's, 11th time's the charm. Feeling really good about his matchup here in this spot. And, it's just the situation where he's just so much faster than the Delver deck, and it's also he's fighting on an axis that Delver's going to struggle to interact on.
When you said 11th time, you're just reminding me of the old PTQ system. Just don't eat.
Old PTQ system.
I guess the new
it's coming back.
Oh, for people who haven't gone through this, someone in 3 years is going to hear 11th times the charm and is just going to be really sad.
Matthias, do you know how many PTQ finals I've had with no wins?
How many?
I'm at like 5 or 6.
Okay.
It's very nice.
All right. Violet's Charm Story wasn't that wasn't making that one up.
No.
Oh, gosh.
No, I'm not bitter.
Yeah.
I'm fair. I'm a little bitter.
All right. So we have, I believe it is seeding goes to Rich Cali. He gets to go first here. He's the 4 seed. David Long was the 6 seed entering the top 8.
Long keeping his hand has got to be scary from Cali's side of the battlefield.
There are some hands that it feels like Rich just isn't going to be able to beat.
Right. If you don't have an early Wasteland, Long can literally just go, all right, Urborg, Thoughtseize, you go. Thespian Stage, go. Dark Depths, go.
And you're not really going to be able to race it.
Exactly.
And we can throw a Mox Diamond in there if we want to make it even quicker.
Yikes.
Yeah. It can be. This one can be tough. The Golgari Depths does have those faster starts.
Bright side, Rich Cali does have a copy of Vapor Snag in his deck, which helps enable those copies of Light Up the Stage, but it also is a way to actually just get that Merit Lage token off of the table without Long gaining a ton of life, like the Swords to Plowshares decks we've seen out of a bunch of the white decks this weekend.
Cali keeping on 6 starts with the turn 1 Delver. We love the early pressure in this kind of matchup.
Right, and that's the formula for the games that you win, is having ways to actually just pressure David's life total while he's trying to set up.
We'll see what David Long has. You mentioned he can come out even faster in this matchup.
Right, and one of the luxuries of having, open sideboards, knowing what's going on, is we see Long just kind of fetching up this non-basic land, knowing that Cali doesn't have a ton of Wastelands in his deck. Oh, he does have the full 4 Wastelands, excuse me. That's a little bit different than some of the Izzet Delver decks we've seen. But if Cali wants to blow a Wasteland on a Bayou, Long's going to be okay with that, since Cali doesn't have any ways to recur them.
So Long tries for a turn 1 Sylvan Safekeeper. Rich Cali dazes it and then attacks him with the Delver. Now, it's just a Delver, not an Insectile Aberration, as he remakes that Volcanic Island.
And we see a Wasteland hiding out in Cali's hand there. He's saving that for a combo piece rather than for this mana.
Second land here from David Long. It's another Bayou. For Cali, that's got to be good news, just seeing mana-producing lands, nothing fancy coming out yet.
Right.
Transforms off a Daze. Does Long have removal? He does. It is Abrupt Decay.
Well, hopefully suspending the warranty on this Delver of Secrets.
No replacement threat for Cali. Both players here looking for some action.
And these draw-go situations are going to favor the Golgari Depths deck pretty heavily. If both players have just a pile of resources, presumably the Golgari Depths deck is going to be favored in those situations, just because what it's doing is going to end up being so much more powerful if it just gets to have its cards interact.
And here's the first combo piece we see. Long makes Thespian Stage for the turn and goes toward Dark Confidant. Now, I don't think that's going to live based on this deck, and indeed it doesn't. Rich immediately has a Lightning Bolt.
No, but you have to kind of check here, right? Eventually you need to get through all of the resources from the Izzet Delver deck, and this is just forcing Cali to have it, and then if Cali doesn't have it, you're up cards.
A Ponder from Cali. Top 3, he does, looks like there's a young Pyromancer in the mix, so a replacement threat, though it's giving Cali some pause as to whether he wants to keep these.
Right, it's an awkward situation where you would love to develop a young Pyromancer here, but if you, say, play your Wasteland and cast the Pyromancer, you might just be facing down a 20/20.
Decides it's worth the risk. That's what he will do. Does David Long have a Dark Depths? That would make Merit Lage. Now, both players know about that one of Vapor Snag you mentioned, so there's a bit of risk on David's side. You know, that's the kind of thing that in the dark, if he didn't know about the Vapor Snag, David would just make a 20/20 here, right? It would be
right.
It would just be free.
Right. Lightning Bolt doesn't kill a Merit Lage. Chain Lightning doesn't kill a Merit Lage.
And even though there is a Vapor Snag, he's going to do it anyway. That's only a one of. Rich hasn't cast that many cantrips. Here's a 20/20. Does Rich have it?
All right, show me.
Yes.
Whew.
Vapor Snag, David loses 1. A big turn, and Rich swings in for 2.
Well, you're not going to make it this far into a tournament just leaving yourself dead on board, right?
And Chain Landing, you see, now he's sensing that he has taken control. Rich sends 3 upstairs, makes another token. And we have a slight life total correction. David Long at 12.
Gorgeous. Love this Chain Lightning play. Cali going, you're probably not doing anything important this next turn. I want to develop this token and make it worth as much damage as possible.
So right now 12, so it's a 4 on the board. However, if Rich can get a red card next turn, then he will make it a 2-turn clock. See what Long can do. When you set up for that combo and it misses, you lose both halves of the combo.
Right, it's 2 turns of development being stymied.
The Thespian Stage copies Dark Depths. You sacrifice the Dark Depths to the Legend rule, and then the Thespian Stage in play with no counters, that one is the one that gets sacrificed to make the 20/20.
So Vampire Hexmage is an incredible blocker.
It is a 2/1 first strike.
First strike?
There's some other random text that I guess comes up every once in a while.
This first strike is nice.
That's why we play it. Black usually doesn't get first strike on a 2-drop.
Hey, look, honestly, I'm a little peeved that this isn't a knight. It feels like it should be a vampire knight of some sort. Those are the
Because
first
that's first
strikey
strike?
black creatures, right?
Yeah. They generally are. Yeah, black, going all the way back to Black Knight, Knight of Malice. All of those tend to be first strikers. You think it... Yeah, none of the other vampires in Innistrad had first strike. Why does this one? It must be part of that... I don't know, it's using some sort of sorcery.
It's how
Right?
it
It's a
stops
hex mage?
hexes. Hexes. Hex. What's the plural hex?
Hexi. Or it's like AE, Hex AE.
Hexus. Hexies.
And Rich, yeah, no attacks, he just passes. So far the blocker is doing its job.
Well, your options here are not attack. Send your elementals and sack 1 to effectively deal 1 damage, or lose your young pyromancer for 2.
And this is a play from David. He wastelands Rich's Wasteland. That's because his land art for the turn is a second copy of Dark Depths.
And this feels bad to go down on cards like this, but you're kind of priced into these kinds of plays if you don't have ways to protect your Dark Depths.
And you see, because he wants to stop Rich from drawing and making another Wasteland, David is going to main phase, make that Merit Lage. Now, there are no Snapcaster mages in Rich's list. And that means he's going to pick up the cards.
Right, and there's a little bit of sequencing there that I kind of want to point out for a moment, and that is him choosing to Wasteland the Wasteland before playing the Dark Depths.
Right.
Normally, when you have the combo set up, you can Wasteland the Wasteland while the Dark Depth is in play, so then the Wasteland gets to target the Dark Depth.
If he targets it, then you Hex Mage.
Exactly. So in that situation, if he had played the Dark Depths and tried to do it the normal way, it gives Cali a chance to go, all right, respond to you activating Wasteland and Lightning Bolt your Hex Mage, and then all of a sudden Long is in a spot.
Gone.
Right, right.
Yeah, and that's a situation where when you waste his Wasteland, yes, he gets your Bayou as well, which feels pretty bad, but if this is the last turn of the game, you weren't using it anyway.
Who cares? The Vapor Snag's gone. You know the coast is clear.
And so game 1 does go to David Long, picking up the win, and it actually looked for a second like Rich Cali may have pulled one over on him with that Vapor Snag that he had gotten there.
Right, and honestly, though, that's kind of why this matchup is so good for the Depths deck is even then, we feel like things looked great for Izzet, but it got less than halfway to killing David.
They looked as good as you can reasonably expect them to. His one card in the main deck that interacts, he drew it. Not only did he draw it, he removed a 20/20 with it.
Right. He had a turn 1 Delver of Secrets. He had a Pyromancer make a few tokens. Vapor Snag hit the Dark Depths. He drew a Wasteland. What else are you hoping to hit?
All right, so looking at the sideboards, I want to look first, are there other ways Rich can interact with the 20/20? We know he has the Vapor Snag in the main, but what else do we see?
So I have some bad news.
Okay, so we can't remove it? But the Surgical
No.
Extraction can play.
Correct. Surgical Extraction is a way that, say, if you Wasteland a Dark Depths, you can then Surgical Extract the rest of the Dark Depths.
Okay.
But other than that, there's just not really that much that
no
he
way
can
to
do to really be interacting, right? Most of these are things that are meant to deal with artifacts or instants and sorceries or cards coming back from the graveyard. But
And when looking at things to surgically extract, it really has to be Dark Depths. Because if you try to get Thespian Stage, well, the Hexmage combo can kill you. And same the other way. If you get the Hexmages, the Thespian Stage might kill you.
exactly.
On long side, what already looks to be a good matchup, he's looking for ways to improve it. Him to Turok Assassin's Trophy, he has some go big cards. Something I'm looking at here is Liliana the Last Hope.
Right, that's something that just wipes out basically anything that Cali can ever play, or at least invalidate it to the point where it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
So Liliana just wins so many games by herself against these little creature decks that it's hard not to be reaching for it.
Delver of Secrets, Terramander, Young Pyromancer, all tagged. That's 12 targets.
My, Cali, how squishy your creatures are.
This is a tough one indeed for Izzet.
Past that, we may end up seeing Pithing Needle come out, just because this is a situation where you can just Pithing Needle Wasteland, and that's one of Cali's only avenues of interaction. So there's a pretty strong case for just cutting some of your hand disruption and leaning into Pithing Needle to use that, because you don't really care that much about Cali's counterspells.
So looking for that first win. We mentioned he is now a game away, the DC native here. Last year, he had 3 top 8s in 9 opens. He was the mainstay of the legacy seat for a lot of our team construction opens, but this time he's just taking it all on his own. This was his 10th top 8 and looking for his first win.
Yeah, unsurprising to see him making a deep run here in this Legacy Open in Syracuse. He's just so consistent on the tour. We see he top 8'd a third of the Opens he played last year.
Right.
Those are some absurd numbers.
For a while there, it looked like both he and his brother were going to top 8. Did not end up happening that they got the double top 8. Not both lens players. Robert Long got 31st, a top 32 finish for Robert on Miracles.
Yeah, that's perfectly respectable. You know, over 600 players in the room. Both of you end up in the top 30. You take those.
It's a good weekend.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
allow it.
Oh, yeah. If a sibling of mine and I could come in a room and both of us cash an open, I'd check that box pretty quickly.
One of the lesser known brother pairs on the tour. Of course, we know the Jessups. We see them a lot. I think if you go way back, the Hatfields used to play the Legacy series.
The Hatfields are nice. They are also incredible at Legacy. Big innovators of the High Tide deck.
That's why I know that one.
Oh.
We're all
me
about
too.
that.
Oh, I'm
yeah.
here. We're a good duo. We have synergy, Matthias. We like a lot of the same things.
I don't know. You didn't like Ancient Tomb this weekend.
That is true. I'm just trying to say the things that we both like, and you're over here bringing up Ancient Tomb.
And then, of course, the brother pair of Caleb Shear and Paul Muller.
Listen, they're stepbrothers. Their storm decks just have so much room for activities.
Yeah. Rich will be on the play again. He was the lower seeded player, so he got to be playing on the first game. Had a turn 1 Delver, but still it was not fast enough. It was a mulligan to 6, however.
Cali kept to 7 pretty quickly.
All right. And David did not. It's an opportunity.
Okay. This is why we play the games. It's possible that Cali just has a hand that lines up very well against what the depth deck wants to do. You know, a Wasteland, a Surgical, a Threat. It doesn't take that many cards to have a game-winning mix. They just need to be some pretty specific ones.
We got the Bravermans, another brother pair on the SCG Tour.
Bravermans are nice. We came up in similar regional circles, traveled together to a couple of events.
Apologies, I'm sure we're forgetting some. Big apologies to who we're missing here.
I'm not apologizing. I've changed my mind. I'm sorry. I don't even like that joke that much. I feel bad. I want to be wholesome.
David contemplating a 6 here. A lot of his fast starts do play. And he's got one he likes. The scry is to the bottom, however. So here we go for our second game. David Long looking for that first trophy here on the SCG Tour. So Rich having the deck of the weekend. Is it Delver? Only 3 players playing it, but 2 of the 3, both him and #1 seed Austin Collins, both making the top 8. And this is, again, we saw Kevin King break this out a month ago in Baltimore, and it looked great there, too.
I'm an enormous fan of this deck. This is, you know, little personal here. If I had picked a favorite player and a favorite deck to end up making the finals, it would have literally been David Long and Is It Delver. I wish that there were some fork bolts in this Is It Delver list, but otherwise, I really, really like what Cali has going on here.
Turn 1 is Terramander for Rich Cali. It's a different look on Is It Delver. Previously, it was a Monastery Swiftsphere Storm Chaser Mage style deck, but I really like how this one plays, as opposed to less prowess, more value.
Right, and Storm Chaser Mage really was just a Monastery Swiftspear with flying.
Right.
Right, but, you know, Terramander is just so much easier to cast. It's better with your Force of Wills, and it lets you lean a little bit more into the disruptive package.
Right, because Monastery Swiftspear tells you when you have to cast your cards, and Terramander lets you choose.
Exactly. Both of them want you to cast a bunch of spells, but it's only Monastery Swiftspear that's dictating when you have to do it.
All right. Oh, on David Longside, turn 1, Mox Diamond. That resolves, discards a Dark Depths. Now fetches for a Bayou. That extra mana up, always welcome in the deck. If he's discarding a Dark Depths, does that make you feel he has another?
Yeah, more than likely. It's hard to imagine that he just doesn't have any of them, or he might have something like Crop Rotation that can find one.
Thoughtseize is the play. We'll get a look at Rich's hand. It is a Flusterstorm, a Ponder. Light up the stage, Forked Bolt, and a second land. Not too bad here.
Okay, so this one's fine. The big issue is that it is not very good at answering the combo as it stands. Terramander is able to block Dark Depths and buy a turn that way. But there isn't, basically it's missing the Vapor Snag and it doesn't have a Wasteland. Ponder is going to do some work helping find it, but that needs to find one of those cards.
And the card David takes does not inspire too much confidence. He actually takes Light Up the Stage, which sends a message saying if you keep the cards you have, I can beat them. Please don't draw different ones.
Exactly. And, you know, if you think you can just beat one piece of disruption, you're going to leave him with the Ponder because that's only going to find one card. Light Up the Stage is the thing that can let Cali find multiple pieces.
Right. So back to Cali we go. He leads on Ponder. Is there something here he likes? This is his second spell. Still a ways off that Terramander.
It's not the face of someone who likes it.
Yeah, it's going to be a shuffle. So neither of those 3, he will get to shuffle and get a different card off the top, but that's going to be a random one. If David Long has a combo on this turn 2, I don't think this is going to stop him from going for it.
No, absolutely not.
The swing is in for 1. The island that we know about, that one joins and is back to Long. He knows about a Forked Bolt and a Flusterstorm. That's what he has to play around this turn.
Luckily, those are not going to do it most of the time. Forked Bolt does not exactly stop Vampire Hexmage if you just want to sacrifice it.
And I love this. Long goes for him to Turok into the open blue mana. So he knows it's going to get countered.
Paving the way for a Crop Rotation.
Interestingly, he has no more lands. So he just passes. This is an opportunity for Rich. And a bigger one as he draws Brainstorm. little bit of dexterity there, but did not see any extra cards. Judge says it's fine. Continues on.
Okay, so Cali's missing those answers that I brought up before, but
Right.
it's with Long stumbling a little bit here. This is giving Cali a window to just kind of kill Long.
Right. And with no land here, I know I said earlier that Mox Diamond discarding Dark Depths made it look like David Long has a second one. I'm not as confident on that anymore because the way the game has played out, he would have discarded it even if he didn't have a second.
Exactly. Dark Depths just doesn't produce mana, so if he doesn't have a way to combo here, then that Depths isn't particularly valuable. Discarding one of your combo pieces seems far-fetched, but this Thought Season to him kind of implies he's leaning a little bit more into his fair strategy.
Terramander attacks for 1 as Rich makes a second land. It's 4 spells in the graveyard and 2 lands out in play. Not there yet, but we're getting close.
Well, if Long casts another Hymn to Torok and hits 2 spells...
Yeah, we might have better let that one resolve if we can. It is going to be Sylvan Scrying from David Long. Another Flusterstorm from Cali. It's 5 lands in the graveyard. He will have the mana for Terramander next turn.
Yes. It's time to make a scary Terry.
Long at 15. There's reason to do so. It takes a lot of turns off the clock.
Cali's fetching.
It's at the play. We'll see. Long with, I believe, just 1 card in hand. Can't be that concerned if you're Cali. You may just want to make the attacker. And he rechecks 5 in the graveyard and 3 mana. That will be the adapt. Adapting 4. 4 counters on the Terramander. It is a 5/5.
And this is big. Long's at 15. There's just 2 more of these and he is dead. Literally 0 life.
Yeah, 3 hits from the Terramander add up very nicely here. There's the first one, and David is at 10. But he has a tapped out opponent. Can he do anything with this? He has this turn and 1 more after it. That face makes me think that there's something more he's looking for.
Right, and we see a Hymn to Torok there in the front of David Long's hand, but that's not the fight that we're fighting here.
Yeah, now that Terramander's on the board, it doesn't feel like it's about cards anymore.
Exactly, Long just needs to find these 2 combo pieces.
Taps the 2. Where to go from here? It looks like he has a crop rotation in hand. He's going to start on Hymn to Turok this turn. There are cards in Rich's hand. A Force of Will and a Daze. So he's going to force it.
Okay, well, this is just choosing the 2 cards that your Hymn
There's a third
takes.
card. Okay.
Exactly.
For a second, I thought those were the last 2 cards, and I was very confused.
Look, sometimes you just want one of your cards exiled and you to have 1 less life. It's like running backwards into the end zone.
And now the follow-up from Long. Is that crop rotation? He fetches for a Bayou and goes for it. Nicely, he got the Daze and Force of Will out of Rich's hand, so he was paid off for that Hymn to Turok.
Right, and it's entirely possible that this is just some sort of burn spell or something to that effect.
Dark Depths is the find of crop rotation. A hit from Terramander sends David down to 4. What is Rich's last card? Ideally, something like Wasteland here would be pretty hard to beat. But it looks like it is a Braid, and he goes for the Mox Diamond. And that's going to make it pretty hard for David to combo. And he can't do it.
Yeah, with another Terramander, even making the Merit Lage there wasn't going to be good enough.
You're right, actually.
You
There's
can just
two
get
lethal attackers.
Yeah.
Well played here, and Rich Cali evens things up.
That was great from Cali's side. That's a nice aspect of a Braid that we didn't touch on with boarding before is it does hit Mox Diamond, and you know, the Skullgari Depths deck, it's a land-based deck that's a little bit hard to interact with, but it's very mana-intensive.
And we see some of that sideboard coming through for Rich Cali. Multiple Flusterstorms and the Abrade. He's top of the sideboard there. Both those came in big in the win. He does have a plan here.
Right, and we just saw those Flusterstorms turning off the Hymn to Torox, Abrade tagging a mana source at the right time, all the while this Terramander just crunch, crunch, crunch.
Yeah. And look at it on David's side. It was multiple him to Turox that game, so he's playing 1 in the main and 3 in the sideboard today. Even though Is It Delver is a pretty low-to-the-ground deck, he's boarding in the Hymns. It's close enough.
Right. His plan, his idea here is more just that Cali was probably going to lean into more ways to just deal with the Dark Depths combo, like Surgical Extraction. And he wanted to kind of cover his bases there in case his Depths got Surgicaled. He wanted to have a way to still win a game of Magic.
So now one game will decide it. Now, this is going to be the toughest one for Cali. That game he was on, Rich got to be on the play against a 6-card hand. 2 big things going his way. On the draw, this is a lot scarier.
Right. Being on the draw against a deck that's already faster than you is rough. Force of Will is what's frequently the check for that, but when you're a land-based combo deck, what does your Force of Will do anymore? What are you going to counter Mox Diamond?
A little bit of re-sideboarding. On long side, I wouldn't be surprised. I guess the Lilians are probably coming in play or draw. Certainly on the play, they seem better.
Right, and this is just something where, especially if you can cheat it out with a Mox Diamond, you might even get to kill an unflipped Delver of Secrets before it ever has the chance to flip.
That was exactly it. Turn 1 Delver, turn 1 Terramander, turn 2 Liliana Plus. A pretty good exchange.
Exactly. You just all of a sudden have this other threat that can pick off what you're trying to pressure with, and also is a threat on its own.
Yeah, actually, Resolve Liliana is really hard for Rich's deck to beat.
Right, you have to use multiple Lightning Bolt effects in order to get it off of the battlefield, and it's hard. If I'm being honest, I would assume that Cali is trimming on some of those since there aren't that many cards for him to interact with other than Dark Confidant.
Right. The other kind of way you interact with it is True Name Nemesis, but I don't think those are still in the deck at this point.
No, that card is very slow. Ooh, it pitches to Force.
It does have the defense of every medium legacy blue card. This one's not a medium one, but it does pitch to Force.
Oh yeah, whenever someone has a blue card that they just don't want to cut, they just
say it pitches to Force.
It helps my Force count. You go, yeah, well, I can't tell you you're wrong.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't put that Shadow of Doubt in your legacy deck. No, pitches to Force.
Pitches to Force, and it's a cantrip.
Yeah. That's not a made-up conversation I've had. That's happened.
Oh yeah.
It's.
You know what the cowboy said the second time he rode a bull? This ain't my first rodeo.
So we have one more game here, Cali and Long. In what has been to be their 18th round of Legacy on the weekend. Neither player here entering with any buys.
What a surprise that David Long was able to succeed in Legacy in spite of that.
Yeah, those records above are from the Swiss, so if you add in the top 8, 14 wins for each player. Rich got to draw his last round. David did not, so I guess for Rich it is 1 fewer. But here we go, both players keeping for our third game. And David going to start things off with Urborg and Pithing Needle.
All right, let's just see if he has. That's likely naming Wasteland. Let's see if he just goes Depths, Hex Mage, good luck.
He does name Wasteland. Nothing like Terramander. It's like, now you can't adapt that one. No, he's protecting the combo, and here's Thespian's Stage.
Wrong colorless land.
Cali, few ways to interact. He has Young Pyromancer, but a Dark Depths here, and we may be already looking at a 2020.
It's in his hand.
So does he respect the Vapor Snag?
No.
Last time?
No chance. Let me stop you right there.
If it's going to happen again,
no
is it
chance.
going to get Vapor Snagged? Rich kept a 7 with just Young Pyromancer. All right, no chance. You're right. He's making the 2020. Show the Vapor Snag. Here is Merit Lage. David going for the quick kill. Can Rich respond? Does he have a snag? Does he have a blocker? He does! He has it again! It's the one of the second time in a row he removes the 2020, and we are still going here for Rich Cali.
Ooh.
No, and Pyromancer swings in for 2. David has to rebuild. But here we go. Here's that Crusade. He's just going to do it again. He's like, no, I had 2 of both. Just There is not a second Vapor Snag, so now Rich has to increase the clock. It's Lightning Bolt upstairs, making an elemental. David's to 14.
Can Cali just race it?
It's going to be close if David just has a Dark Depths again.
If he just has like another lightning bolt or something?
You know, a Terramander could jump in the way, make it a race, you know, just a chump blocker.
Yeah.
It would work. Here's 4. David is down to 10. Light up the stage for Spectacle. Makes another creature. It's a Preordain and a land. He needs both, so why not?
Hey, the Polluted Delta casts the Preordain, gets a token.
Yeah, this is increasing the clock even more. But if he doesn't have a snag, he needs a flying blocker. He needs to get his bases covered. So, plays the Polluted Delta off Light Up the Stage. And it comes, it finds the 3rd Volcanic Island. And that one of is just, is this going to work? Here's Preordain, another token. If he gets enough tokens, it might not even matter. He can just, and a
Go
Lightning
around
Bolt
it.
can just go around it.
Right?
Both cards to the bottom, though, he is still looking. Closer for Rich Cali here. See him count 6 power of creatures.
Whenever you see your red opponent counting like with their fingers, you're always.
I just say it to them when they do that. I just start using them. I say, stop counting. you cut that out right now.
No, no, no. Don't you do this.
That's not allowed. And back to David. Does he have another Dark Depths? He doesn't. It's Wasteland. And another Bolt upstairs. David at 7. That's 7 power in play. And there's the handshake. Vapor Snag does it. Rich Cali takes the win on the draw in the matchup. He is your champion here at Syracuse. Oh my goodness.